time for another beer review. Rivertown Roebling. But I let this one fall Kiss Spartacus. He likes to lick and bite. Hi, I'm Brian Lape, Cincinnati Craft Beer Examiner on Examiner.com. And today, we've got Rivertown's Roebling Porter. Now, most people around here, because they never took German and they forgot their German heritage, will say Roebling. Wrong. But that's okay. It's an Americanized pronunciation, I'll let it slide. So, haven't done one of these in a good while, and it's a nice warm day in December, hence the short sleeves. So, I've had this a while. It's Imperial Porter. Now, as I like to do, I need to slow my voice down and slow down. This is a question I get quite a bit from people who don't really understand how beer is made. They'll get a beer with coffee notes or chocolate notes, and they'll want to know, oh my goodness, does this have beer? Does this have chocolate in it? Does this have coffee in it? I can't have this. Maybe. Usually not. Usually if it says that, it'll say on the label, hey, I do have coffee, I do have real chocolate. So this has sweet vanilla beans, cold pressed espresso. So they take the coffee, grind it up, and they cold press the coffee. They soak it in water. They don't heat it up. And then they press the grinds to get the coffee out. Now you might ask, why do they do that? No tannins. You don't want any of the acidity and the can actually be bitter of the tannins of the coffee. You just want the flavor. No problem. Homebrewers many times do this by throwing beans in the secondary and let it sit for a couple weeks, because the alcohol, especially something high in alcohol, it'll help draw it out. So it has that coffee from the coffee beans and vanilla. I don't think it has actual chocolate. The malts that are in malt is, they take barley, and thank you, Toby, for making a lot of noise. So this is one take, people. I can't do that. Stop. They take barley and they get enough water on it so it starts to germinate. Then they stop it by heating. And that crystallization is the malt. That is malted barley. They can then roast it, and they can do different things. They have a crystal malt, which was just a roast at a low temperature for a little bit. You have various stages of that. It adds a nice sweetness. It adds some colors depending on how dark they get. But they have what they call chocolate malt. And this is not the malt you get out of your Nestle's Quick or your Ovaltine or anything like that. It's called chocolate malt because it actually looks like chocolate. It's that color. It has that kind of aroma and flavor, and it imparts on the beer. It is not chocolate. Okay? So one of these days I need to go to a homebrew store and show all these malts. I think it would help. So, enough ado. So this is a nice, it's still a little cold. I had it out, sitting out for a while I was doing other things. Apparently it wasn't long enough, because it should have a much stronger head than that. It looks to be artificially carbonated. Yep. Hence why it's going away so quickly, almost like soda. Man, you can really smell the coffee and chocolate and the vanilla. I like the espresso. I've done this a few times. Pardon me while I bring up my Untapped. That aroma from the coffee is just fantastic. Yeah, this is way too cold, but it's very, very good. Wow. That is fantastic, as always. So I was hoping to have I should have stopped pouring so I could swirl it and get a little more head on here. Because what happens when the carbonation can't come up quickly enough, and just kind of, and this is what you get. I did rinse this glass too. It may have a little too much residue on it, which also would have killed the head. But nice, dark, thick, chewy. This is what a lot of people who say they don't like dark beer. This is a beer they wouldn't like. Because unlike a Guinness or some of the stouts, which are dark roasted malts and kind of dark flavors, they're not really thick beers, they're not very heavy. A Budweiser has more alcohol and more calories than a Guinness stout, believe it or not. That is fantastic. Wow. But as this warms up, the notes will come alive. The head's starting to come up a little bit. I don't think there's anything else on the bottle. Handcraft in small batches, absolutely. I know Randy and Jason known them for several years. They have good brewers with them. Lockland, Ohio, Rivertown, excellent stuff. Excellent brewer. Now, as far as what I would do with this, you could have something to eat with this. I would say you want to be light. But I would have this as a dessert beer. I mean, yes, you could have a shrimp scampi with it if you wanted. I don't know what the ABV doesn't say, but the problem is when you have these flavors will contrast too much, and this will start to feel really bitter. If you were going to eat something along the lines with this that wasn't a dessert, I would say, if this is a main course or you're just having a pre-meal, maybe appetizers, I would say you want something mildly spicy to kind of cut back on the sweetness. The vanilla is very sweet in this. And pardon me for burping on camera, but it's just because I poured it way too cold. My mistake. So you're going to have too much of a clash if it was mildly spicy, and especially if it didn't have a heavy cream sauce, because what's going to happen is your tongue's going to get coated with that, and this isn't going to work. You could do this with some mild cheeses, maybe some mild sausages, and pretzels or even pretzel bread to kind of cleanse the palate. But really, to me, because of the coffee, the vanilla, the heavy chocolate notes, I mean, if it had actual chocolate in it, it would even be even more so. It's in that dessert beer category. So you could obviously, the first obvious thing is to make a float out of it. Vanilla bean, if you want to bump up the vanilla, it already has vanilla bean in it. So you could take a chocolate or dark chocolate if you want to kick those notes up. You could do a raspberry sherbet with that as a float to kind of get a little bit more contrasting flavors and have it kind of blend together. Because you already have the chocolate and you have vanilla. So if you do ice cream, you may want to choose something that doesn't just blow out the other one. You could do chocolate and vanilla ice cream to try and find a balance. But I think a raspberry sherbet, because that would have enough tartness from the raspberries to kind of counteract the vanilla sweetness. You also might want to do a cheesecake. To me, this is not a heavy cheesecake, a nice fluffy, creamy, maybe piled high, but very creamy cheesecake with whatever fruit flavoring you want. Strawberries will work, blueberries will work, raspberries, blackberries, cherries maybe. I'm not a cherry fan, so it's kind of that's not kind of wrong question to ask, but you could. I would stick with a fluffy cheesecake with a graham cracker crust is what I would have with this. It would complement. Yes, the cheesecake's going to kind of coat your mouth a little bit. This will help wash it off, especially the carbonation. But you're going to get kind of the best of both worlds. You're going to get that cheese, you're going to get the beer. That way too, you don't have something in your dessert that's overpoweringly vanilla or chocolate. You already have the chocolate and coffee in this, and you just sip it and have some cheesecake and talk and converse. This is really a sipping beer. This is not one that you're going to guzzle at a party. Alrighty, because as you drink it, you want to inhale through your nose. Oh, the coffee's coming alive. And I'm not a coffee drinker by any stretch of the imagination, but this is one. Definitely, I should have let this sit out a little longer. This is definitely a 50 to 55 degree beer. See, and even the head's starting to come alive a little bit better as I shake it up a little. It's definitely a warmer beer that you want to have. You don't want it really, really cold. And have that cheesecake, or you can have ice cream. I mean, you could have a raspberry sorbet with it, not in it, but with it, with some sort of tart or torte wrap roll up of crepe or something like that. You could have the ice cream in a crepe. This would go well with a lot of pastries that aren't overly sweet, because something very, very sweet is going to coat get you used to that sweet, and this is going to get really tart and bitter on you. but a mild sweetness to kind of go with the mild sweetness of the vanilla. And there you have it. So there's some suggestions. This is definitely a dessert beer. Roebling Porter. It's awesome. It's excellent. It's available just about anywhere. If you go somewhere and you can't find it, let me know and I'll let Jason know. Somebody's out of it. I mean, I can get a hold of him. But for the most part, just ask, hey, when you getting your next shipment in? This is very popular around here. Roebling Porter, Roebling, umlaut. Very popular. So if you ever see it in store, you better get it that day, as more likely you're not going to find it a couple days later. It's very good. Excellent. Thank you very much, Jason, Randy, guys. Excellent job. Great balance. Nothing overpowering. Everything playing nice. Washes over the tongue very nicely. Can't wait to write the review. Read the review on examiner.com. Look for me, Brian Lape, Cincinnati Craft Beer Examiner. Thank you, and please subscribe.